As much as we would always like to stay in our home, there are times when it is mandatory, or at least very advisable, to leave.
When with all the hurricanes warnings that we have right now and what happened in Maui with the wildfires, it's even more important that you take a look at what your emergency evacuation plan is for you and your family, and that you've thought it through really well. In today's video, we've invited Nick Miller back because he is an expert and he can help us kind of explore thoughts and ideas that maybe we haven't considered before. So join us. You're going to want to be ready.
Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. And today we want to talk about emergency evacuation and coming up with a plan. Now, quite frankly, all of us would much rather stay in our home because it's stocked with everything that I need, including my own bed.
And shower.
And shower. But there are some scenarios that could make the difference between life and death, whether or not you have an evacuation plan that is well thought through, that can take care of you and your family if disaster strikes. And today we brought the expert of experts back on our channel so that we could talk with Nick Miller, who has a degree in emergency management. He is a first responder and he teaches both the military and other first responders how to respond to disasters. And so this guy has seen it and he knows what he's talking about. So there's no better person to teach us. So what we would strongly encourage you to grab a pen and a paper and listen very carefully to what Nick teaches us so that you'll know how to create the right emergency evacuation plan.
So Nick, why is having a good evacuation plan so important, and how do we go about this? I mean, for many of us, it's probably kind of overwhelming thinking of different scenarios, but there's got to be a way to distill this down so that it makes sense and so that we can take action. Teach us.
Well, why? I remember I was 18 years old. The year was 1993. I was working overnight as a grocery clerk to make some extra quarter an hour before I went to college. And one of those indelible memories I don't forget is when families started coming in at 1 a.m. to our grocery store and asked us if they had any cardboard boxes because the police told them they had 1 hour to evacuate. And at 1 a.m, you can't go buy boxes. And even if you could, they'd probably all be gone. These poor people had 1 hour to get out whatever they could get out. And they're asking for boxes. If you got a knock on your door at 1 a.m. and you got told you had 1 hour to evacuate because you had a train derailment with hydrogen cyanide or some other toxic gas like happened recently, you have wildfires. Because there's some things, as much as you want to stay in your fortress, you're not going to survive a wildfire. And even if you can keep your house from burning down, there's this stuff called smoke. And in case of hurricanes, I lived in Louisiana for 7 years. I mean, they have detailed plans they put on their website to help people. There's a lot of books and references on how to do the evacuate. I can just tell you what I've done, prepare myself over the years, having lived through a minor hurricane myself and lots of, floods and tornadoes, So first thing always is we, hammer it till you're blue in the face, is have a plan. So for me, you have to think about it. You're going to go from having resources that you can usually get every day at the store, like boxes or a dolly, or you can go to the U-Haul and get a truck pretty easily, to nothing. First thing I've done is I've gotten much of those resources in my house in advance. I don't have to go and ask for boxes. My garage is full of my tubs, and I got lots of tubs from moving other places that I've kept because they can stack. Some of them have 400-pound load limits. I can stack them quickly. I can move them. I can get things loaded. If I need to, I have the packing paper for the cardboard. If you use cardboard boxes, you have to have the paper. They're going to crush. There's a lot of things, packing tape, the cellophane rolls, the moving blankets, all that. If you have time to move stuff out, you're not going to be able to get that stuff. So I always have that, in my garage on the top shelves that I never use because and it just sits there waiting to be used. Best things I ever bought was a dolly 25 years ago. A good Milwaukee one turns into a cart. I've used that thing more times than I can count. Just regular everyday stuff. So, but in an emergency, good luck finding one. And those save you lots of time when you're loading and unloading things. The next thing you do is you got to think about, where am I going to go? So where am I going to go if I get called at 1 a.m. being told I'm being flooded? So one thing I learned from living in Louisiana is they tell everyone to have an evacuation plan for every direction. Because in a hurricane, you don't know what's going to strike from the east. You don't know if it's going to strike from the west. You don't know what roads are going to be clogged. Think of your primary place that you're going to go to And think of your secondary places, if those are locked or blocked down. Where are my alternates? You know, in my case, I got rivers on 3 sides of a county. So where am I going to go if I'm on the wrong side of the county? Who can I go to in Illinois? Who can I go to in Missouri? Where I go, if, you know, short or long distance, you know, hopefully I don't have to go more than 20, 30 miles, but maybe I will. You know, it just depends. With the wildfires or something as big as a hurricane that takes out states, you have to think about those things. So know your area and know where you're going to go. You know, another thing I've done is I like to go camping a lot, but my camping equipment doubles as my emergency shelter equipment, because in a major evacuation, good luck getting a hotel room. Those are going to disappear. So mine's all organized in boxes. It sits in my garage. I can load my camping stuff in 5 minutes in my Suburban, because I did it last week for scouts. So I know this. So scouting is a great way to test your camping stuff, but you got to make sure, not just will it work on the weekend, can you live in it a month? So do you have a shower ability? Do you have a comfortable air mattress that you can live on a month, or a cot that you're comfortable on? Do you have the ability to cook food? Do you have the propane, or do you have the fuel? Do you have that ability to be longer term? All that sits on one shelf in my garage. I don't have to worry about it. Another thing you might think of is how you're going to carry extra stuff. You know, I bought a Suburban for a reason. It hold a lot of stuff. It could hold a lot of people. But even with that, you know, once I had 2 labs and a baby that couldn't fend off labs, I had to get a roof rack, because I had to put the labs in the back with those dog barriers. So the kid could be in the second row, and then my luggage went up on the roof rack. So I have a roof rack, and I have one of those plug into your trailer hitch little racks too, that I can put gasoline, because I don't want to take gasoline or fuel inside my car. I'd rather have it outside for safety. Or if I need to, I can hook up a trailer. So you got to think about how you're going to get your stuff out. And then the next thing is, speaking of stuff, if you have only an hour to move, you're not going to get your house moved. So you have to prioritize, what is the most important stuff I need to get out? And I would say that is clothing, food, and your emergency shelter supplies, and your important papers, your heirlooms. So I would have all your important pictures and documents put backed up on a flash drive, scan them so you still have them. Make sure that's in waterproof, EMP, all that good stuff. Make sure the important things in your safe. A lot of people have gun safes. They're fireproof, but they're not necessarily waterproof. They're not. So if you're having floods, think about what's going to stay behind and how do I protect what's going to stay behind. I have 4 boxes with nothing but MREs and dehydrated meals. They're not good for long-term storage. Well, maybe the dehydrated meals are, but in a pinch, I have to leave quickly, I can just throw those boxes with the camping gear. I have food for my family for an extended period of time, and I don't even have to cook the MREs. Or with the dehydrated meals, all I got to do is boil water. I have my jerry cans of water. I just add more to them. I can put them on that back ramp. So I've thought about that. Prioritize it. You know, it can be as simple as boxes, putting your red, like a little red dot, a little yellow dot, and a little green dot. You know, this goes first. If I have more time, I go get the yellows, and if I have more time, I go get the greens. Another thing you can do that I've done, because I've moved so much, but if I did move a lot, I would do this, is know in advance how long it takes for you to pack your house, or how many boxes you need to pack something. I know for a fact my big box will hold 9 of those plastic shoe boxes that I keep a lot of my medical supplies in. So I know if I have X number of those, I need X number of bigger boxes so they can stack and go in. The bigger plastic boxes of higher quality are really good because you can stack them. Some of them have a 400-pound weight limit to stack in a truck. Everything in my basement, I have very little cardboard. The only thing I have in cardboard are my food cases, my number 10 cans, because there's nothing that can match that in a big tub for moving cans quickly in and out. I leave them in those boxes for that reason. If I have to move them out, I can put them on a dolly and off they go. Think about that. Anything that you can already pre-box in a quality box that can pack faster, anything you can make that can go. I have packing cubes in my suitcases. So if I have to evacuate my clothes quickly, I don't have to unpack everything. I just zip up the packing cube and throw the packing cube in the suitcase. Go through your stuff. Think about your size of your house. Think of your finances. What can I afford? How much stuff can I get in advance? And I get this one thing at a time. I might buy a roll of packing tape every time I go to the store. I might buy 2 packing blankets every time I go to Harbor Freight. Over time, though, that stuff adds up. But you got to think to yourself, how much can I store in advance? What is the most important things to me if I only have an hour to move? I know from experience, it's food and shelter. So, and clothing. Clothing's gonna be big. It's really hard to find clothing. Think about your emergency money. Think about, do you have a hotel arrangement in advance? Do you have a relative you can stay at? Do you have a buddy who has 40 acres? He can let you set up a tent. Do you have the insurance in place to pay for the replacement house or to pay for your temporary housing? A lot of insurances have that in their policy where you can get temporary hotel or house. Then you're going to have to fight everyone else who needs it. And like when you have half of Maui burned, so that's half of the state of New Jersey burned, to give you a rough idea, you're going to be in a fight for resources. So the best way not to be fighting for resources is to have them all in advance and have it planned for how you're going to leave quickly. think about it. Sit with your family and go, if I have to leave in an hour at 2 a.m, what are we going to do?
Go back to bed.
and let's add a point here about, this is my chance to put in a plug for making sure that you keep your gas tank half or 2/3 full. My goal used to be to have half full. Now it's to keep it 2/3 full, just to have that extra cushion. And you alluded to this a little bit, if you have the ability to bring some extra fuel, that shouldn't be in our vehicles, but if you have like a rack or something that you can put some extra fuel on, because fuel is one of those things that disappears fast or the lines are long. Any other suggestions on that?
I always carried extra jerry cans. I had like 12 5-gallon jerry cans. We would get warning of the hurricane because fuel would go quick. So as soon as we got warning from our people, the first thing I did was send me or my wife down to the gas station. I filled. Definitely fuel. On the ambulance, we never let our tank get below 3/4 of a tank because we never know where we're going to go or how far we're going to go or how long we're at the stage. Always think about backing into your driveway or backing into any spot. That was required at my job in Louisiana because they're in the oil field industry. Just not having to back out of a parking lot or back out of your driveway saves you a lot of time if you have to get out in a hurry. So if you have to do the backing in, you're either going to have to back into your spot or back out of your spot, whether you're in your house or your driveway. Do it backing in while you have time. That way, if you have to leave in a hurry, you can get out. A lot of it depends on what you can do in time. If you can afford a big trailer or a toy hauler, that would help you. That's an idea you can think about. If not, even just adding a roof rack or something, getting a trailer hitch added on, you can carry a little more. Whether it's a little thing for fuel or a small trailer, it adds up. But again, time is on your side. Think about your situation and what are most important to me. If I only had an hour, what am I going to get rid of? What am I going to escape with and what am I going to lose and how am I going to protect it? You might be lucky. You might end up with 2 hours before you have to go. So you might get more stuff, again, prioritizing what you have to get out. But in most states, there's usually some sort of major incident every so often that requires massive evacuations of large areas, not just my house burnt down or my house got hit with a tornado. A lot of these evacuations are mandatory. They don't give you the option. They don't say you can leave if you want to. They go, you're leaving.
Very good point.
So one of the other things that I think is really important when you talk about all this, and your organization is amazing, but making sure that each one of us have a personalized, some people call them 72-hour kit or Bugout kit or whatever you want to call it. But like for me and mine, it's really important because I have certain needs that have to be in there because I have a really special diet. Right?
Yeah,
because
chocolate.
the MS. Yeah, chocolate. I have to have my chocolate. But there are a lot of people who are on medication or who need different medical devices or things like that. And so having that kit that's special for you, don't go buy anything that somebody says is a 72-hour kit, right? We want something that is totally tailored to you so that you've packed it, it's just right for you, but you can take it in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Because even when you lose power for 2 days, my neighbor had to bring his semi-truck to my next door neighbor's house because she has dialysis at night. And he ran his generator off his semi-truck all night for her to have that.
Okay, see, that's another thing
like
of community, right? Neighbors helping neighbors, of knowing who has what. You have to know that, first of all, his semi-truck can do that. And then next, that she has that need. What a beautiful example of how important it is for neighbors to work together.
Yeah, but if I was that neighbor, I would be planning in advance. What do I need to do if this happens? Where am I going to get a generator? How am I going to get do I have adequate supplies for an extended evacuation for those extra supplies? And the older we get, the more we become acquainted with our pharmacist. What do they say? Welcome to your 40s. If you don't have a disease, one will be assigned to you shortly. So,
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
And this is back to this great reminder that we need to build a plan to be able to have this work out well. And we have to build community to assist with that.
We talk a little bit about communication, but the communication for the plan is really important. On the back of our coat closet right here, or inside the door, we have papers taped. And on there's things like emergency numbers. There's, okay, if I have time, I'm going to grab this. If I still have time, I'm going to go grab this, and this. So that anybody in our family who hasn't been remembering, right? Because we've got kids that have moved out or whatever, they know what the plan is. They know where we plan to go. And so that information is right there. And having it written down so you've thought it through and practiced it, I think that's a really good plan.
And back to the kits, that's why I leave those 72-hour kits that everyone says to have in the car. I don't have to worry about packing it under stress. And 9 times out of 10, unless you're living in an urban environment or don't have a car, You're driving your car to work, you're driving your car back, you're driving your car to the store. And if your house catches on fire, your car may be outside. Now, in my case, my garage doesn't really hold our car, so I just leave mine in the driveway. But again, it's that layers. If I have to leave like in 5 minutes, I have that bag in the car. If I got an hour, now I can evacuate more food, more supplies, more clothes. If I get 2 hours, then so that's why you need to prioritize what can you do within your time frames. Sometimes, like at 9/11, when buildings were falling, you have to run for your life. Car's not going to drive. At least I can grab a bag and run. Or like my wife, when the tornado came, she got off the interstate. She just grabbed the bag, ran into the school that she's never been to. It was her and a janitor hanging out in the school. So, and luckily it missed the school, hit nearby, but they had that, again, it's those concentric rings of time. What can I do if I only have 1 minute? What can I do if I only have 5 minutes? What can I do if I have an hour? If you think that through, then you don't have that stress of what am I going to do? You already know what you're going to do. So your brain doesn't have to freak out and think about what you're going to do. You're just going to follow the plan. The definition of fear is when something's coming that you're not prepared for. That is the definition of fear. I said, so you got to be prepared. You got to think about these things. And everyone who thinks it's not going to happen to them, like I said, when I was 18, I found out it does happen to you. It happens at home, but time's on your side. But no, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
So Nick, thank you. We appreciate you so much sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us and helping all of us be better prepared, because things are just getting crazier and crazier every day. And now for the question of the day.
And that is, what are the threats that you need to prepare for? Now, this is mostly for you, but you can share them with us. And then what unique ideas do you have for helping to deal with those threats? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.